Hey folks, and welcome to another video of mine. In today's video we're going to be taking a look at The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt on both the Xbox Series S and on the PlayStation 5. Now we are going to start off by taking a look at the opening cutscene because I have a few comments about the opening cutscene, so let's jump straight into it. Now as far as the cutscene goes, and the first thing that I want you guys to notice as well in the cutscene is that when it comes to the CinemaScope bars, you see the black bar on top and the bottom. Well, if you take a look at the black bar on the top and the bottom, you would notice that the CinemaScope bars are comparatively darker on the Xbox Series S, and the PlayStation 5 looks comparatively, you would say, grayish when it comes to the CinemaScope bars. Now there's a reason behind it, but before I get to that reason, the first thing that I want to point out is that the footage that you see right now has in no way been tampered, meaning I haven't color graded the footage that you're watching on screen. All of this is straight out of the Xbox Series S and the PlayStation 5, and I haven't played around with the colors at all. So the reason why I personally believe the PlayStation 5 looks comparatively pale apart from the CinemaScope bars is because of the fact that when this game came out, there was no HDR support on the PlayStation consoles, meaning the PlayStation 4 did not have HDR support straight off the bat. Now that may be one of the key reasons as to why this cutscene looks different on both the consoles, because this is, after all, a pre-rendered cutscene. It's not an in-game cutscene, it's a pre-rendered cutscene. So even if they tweak something in-game, and meaning if they added HDR support, and they did add HDR support with the patch 1.61, and now I'm playing 1.62. That's the patch that I'm playing on the PlayStation 5. And with the 1.61, HDR support came into the picture, and it also brought in you could say comparatively stable frame rate. And the PlayStation consoles, meaning PlayStation 4, PlayStation 4 Pro, they benefited from that HDR support. But this is a pre-rendered cutscene, and that's why it looks different. You see, the color reproduction on the Xbox Series S, especially when it comes to this cutscene, in my personal opinion, looks better. What do you guys feel? Feel free to comment in the comment section and let me know which one out of these cutscenes looks better. I personally think that the Series S produces better blacks, the contrast ratios are better, and the overall color reproduction in this particular cutscene is definitely better on the Xbox Series S, surprisingly. Now the PlayStation 5, however, edges out in terms of the sharpness, because in this comparison the PlayStation 5 still has the better resolution, although not the best resolution when it comes to the consoles, and I will get to that also in a bit. Now moving over from this pre-rendered cutscene, it actually moves into the in-game cutscene. I have turned the HDR setting off on both the consoles. That's right, the Xbox Series has no HDR, and so does the PlayStation 5 because it's turned off. Now in this particular cutscene, you would have gotten an idea as to how the PlayStation 5 is slightly better when it comes to the load times, and that's why the scenes are comparatively faster. I mean, they're coming before the Xbox Series S because it's just a fraction of a second, you could say, nothing which takes away from your experience. And this should not be one of those reasons as to why you should be claiming that, hey, PlayStation 5 has better load times for sure. 1 or 2 seconds here or there does not impact your gaming experience overall. And that's the case here. I mean, it's hardly a difference. Now, when you take a look at this scene indoors, and when I pan the camera slowly, and I'm going to pan the camera real fast as well, just to give you an idea as to what type of frame rates are we getting on both these consoles. Now, the Xbox Series S and the PlayStation 5, the frame rates are locked at 30 FPS. That's weird, because the Xbox One X, yes, One X, not the Series X, the One X gets 4K at 60 FPS. So even if I have to compare it to PlayStation 5, you have a last gen console, the Xbox One X, which actually dishes out 4K 60 FPS, and the PlayStation 5 is not. PlayStation 5, I believe is doing somewhere around the 1620p, if I'm not wrong. I'm not sure about it, but if you do know about the exact resolution, feel free to comment in the comment section. I have a feeling that it's around that 1620p mark, or it could be checkerboard 4K as well. I'm not sure, but in this comparison, it's definitely sharper out of the two. Now, also different is the overall color reproduction. That's how we started this entire conversation. And the reason why it's different is because although the PlayStation 5 has, you could say, comparatively a muted stance in the color reproduction, I actually would lean towards the PlayStation 5, because in this scene, as you can see, the darker areas on the Series S, it crushes the details, and some of the details are actually lost. So for indoor scenes like this, the PlayStation 5 definitely comes out on top because there's a lot more detail that you can see. Now when it comes to the combat, and I'm not going to talk about combat mechanics because, hey, I mean, Witcher 3, it had nailed the combat mechanics and it's fantastic, the whole combat experience. But the reason why I was showing the combat gameplay was because of the frame rates again. Now the frame rates locked at 30 FPS is a stable 30 FPS on both the Series S and on the PlayStation 5. I did not experience any drops, and it gives a very good performance when it comes to the frame rates. Now, when it comes to the resolution, however, it's a different story, because the Xbox Series S, I believe, is giving out between 900p to 1080p. Well, it did start off at 900p, but in the later patches, even the Xbox One S received the 1080p support, and the Series S actually pulls from that One S build. It does not pull from the One X build, and therefore you have more or less close to 1080p running at a locked 30 FPS. Now in terms of the visual fidelity, obviously PlayStation 5 edges out and it comes out on top, and I'm going to show you that with a zoomed in example as well of certain screenshots, or rather, videos of what objects look like in the distance. Now, this particular scene or scenes like this, whether you're horse riding, whether you're sprinting, it wouldn't really matter because, hey, this is still a backwards compatible version of the game. It's still not optimized for the current gen consoles. So, what you're getting is still the Xbox One S version on the Series S and the PlayStation 4 Pro version on the PlayStation 5. Now, a quick fun fact, or rather, I think this is the case. I'm not sure about it, so do let me know if you know this for sure, that the PlayStation 5, when it comes to the patch before 1.61, I believe it had unlocked frame rates. So the PlayStation 4 Pro could also perform at 60 FPS, although not 4K, but it did have unlocked frame rates. However, having said that, I'm not sure, so don't quote me on it. If you do have that information, feel free to put that in the comments section. I think, and I may have read about it somewhere, that it did have unlocked frame rates before the 1.61 patch. That would have been cool, isn't it? Because this game, it could certainly benefit from the smooth 60 FPS that you get both on the Xbox One X and on the Xbox Series X. Now, what is also missing on the PlayStation 5 and on the Series S would be graphics modes, meaning you do not have a performance mode per se, or you do not have a graphics mode. Obviously, because of this has not been optimized for the current gen of console, so you cannot expect ray tracing or any kind of an advanced, you could say, anti-aliasing. Speaking of anti-aliasing, if you closely look at Xbox Series S, you will see those jagged edges on the character or even the trees, for instance. Now, this scene, I always make sure that I put in a scene where the character is sprinting around, especially in third-person action-adventure games like this. It gives you perspective and it lets you know how it performs in these fast-moving scenes. Now, instead of slowing it down to half the speed, I've actually slowed it down to 25%, which is 1/4 of the speed. So it gives you an idea as to how it performs when it comes to the frame rates again. Now, both are pretty stable. They both perform at the same 30 FPS. I hardly noticed any frame drops. There were no stutters, no ghosting, nothing, no screen tearing, nothing at all. It was a smooth 30 FPS performance, and I have to give points to the Series S because in this comparison, it is a comparatively cheaper console, and despite of the, you could say, inferior interiors to the PlayStation 5, it still holds up pretty well. So you do get your money's worth. And if you are sitting at a distance of 8 feet from your television, you would not notice all the anti-aliasing, that I was talking about, those jagged edges and, the trees and all having the aliasing issues. You won't be able to make it out. I mean, tell me if you can actually make out the difference in this particular video. I mean, can you really point it out? Unless you zoom in, unless you pixel peep, you won't be able to make that difference out. And that's why, I love the Xbox Series S. Now, I even got myself a PlayStation 5. But hey, the Series S, when it comes to the performance, I must tell you, it gives you your money's worth. Now, the contrasty colors or the boosted colors or the saturated colors here in this case, it does make the Xbox Series S look comparatively better from a distance. But again, when you pixel peep, obviously you can make the difference out. Now, for instance, if I zoom in 150%, and if you take a look at the people who are fishing in the background, if I zoom in 200%, it's completely blurred out when it comes to the Series S, but on the PlayStation 5, it's still comparatively, you could say, respectable. Now, overall, if I really have to choose a console between these two, now simply because of the fact that the PlayStation 5 has the edge against the Series S in terms of the visual fidelity, it would be my option here in this comparison. Now, having said that, the Xbox Series S in no way is a bad performer. It, I think, gives you more than what it charges you for it. I mean, it's such a great console and it gives you your money's worth. If I really have to pick one console to play The Witcher 3 on, it would be either the Xbox One X, and hey, if we are talking about current gen, then why not the Xbox Series X? It also benefits from having those performance and graphics options, the different modes that you can choose from, which is missing on the PlayStation 5. So my top pick to play The Witcher 3, just like RDR2, because I made a video on it just a few days back. It's on my channel, you can check that out as well. Again, would be the Xbox Series X, because it just does 4K 60 FPS and it does a much better job at it. Second would be Xbox One X, and then finally followed by PlayStation 5, and lastly the Xbox Series S. But I'm really excited as to what CD Projekt Red has in store for the current gen console update, which is due in April 2022 or May 2022, as per their information that they have shared. So really excited, and hope you play The Witcher. If you haven't played this is one of the greatest games that you could ever get your hands on. So do play The Witcher 3. It has such a great replay value, and you can play this game over and over again. It's really fantastic, and I would highly recommend it. So that's it for this video, folks. I hope you've enjoyed this, and if you have any comments, feel free to comment in the comment section. Please, if you have liked the video, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, and also hit that bell icon in case you want to get notified with all my latest videos. It's a wrap for this one, folks, and I will see you lovely folks in my next video. Season's greetings to all, and take care, happy gaming, stay safe, and may God bless you all.